Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. I apologize. It's been like over 2 weeks since I put a video up. It's like the longest time I've ever gone without putting a video up. And trust me, I've wanted to, but like every single day, I keep getting like bombarded by all these executive orders that Trump is doing, and I save them in a bookmark. You know, I've been saving this stuff for like, it's really more like about 11 days, I think, that Trump's been in office so far at the time of making this video. But another reason that I haven't been able to produce as much content here lately is I've been doing a massive remodel, I guess we'll call it, of my office space here, my studio, where I'm going to be shooting a lot more videos, especially in the winter time when it's colder and I can't get out in the shop and set up as easily. A little while back, real quickly, my wife bought me this really awesome kick-ass shelf back behind me so that I'd have a place right back here. So I'd have a place to store all my books. I've got quite a lot of, so much stuff, historical stuff that some of it I've read, some of it I want to read. Lots of little books like, 1 Second After, what was one of my favorite survival books of all time, When Technology Fails. I highly recommend that if you're a prepper. It's got just about everything, every topic. So anyway, for years and years, I've had all my books stored in the bottom of a filing cabinet, and I can't really access them or even see what I have, but now I can. It's beautiful. I love it. So thanks to my wife for helping out with this project, and we've been really just doing a lot of stuff. Maybe paint may be in the future, but right now I just needed to put things back together because we have got a boatload of stuff to cover here. And I hope that you guys have the patience to stick with me through this. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. Everything that I reference here today, we will have links in the description so you can go read a lot of these articles yourself, because it's overwhelming, guys. I was telling my wife, I'm like, I don't even know what to call this. I hesitate to call it like blitzkrieg, but that's what it seems like. It's the most fast, rapid-paced thing that I've ever seen. They're not only fixing all these things like Trump said he would do. His promises are being delivered upon. It's just unbelievable. And I guess the reason I've kind of been just like the liberals, I've been sitting there with my mouth open like this, going, oh my God, I can't believe it's actually happening. So I want to get into what has happened in the first 11 days of the Trump administration. And I'm very excited about it. Although at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the dangers that this hard of a push against the NWO deep state, the swamp commies, all that stuff. They're going to eventually push back. They're going to eventually hit the wall and their mouth is going to close, and then they're going to come out swinging. So be prepared for that. They've already issued a whole bunch of lawsuits and stuff like this to try to stop Trump from making America great again. So as you guys know that follow me, I'm an old guy now. I'm not, some spring chicken anymore. So I have to wear glasses to do this. And the reason I tell you this is I apologize, guys, because I cannot figure out a way or how these people are doing it where the reflection doesn't show up in my glasses. I can't stop that, but I gotta have them because I'm an old guy. So let's get our anti-communist glasses on and let's read through here all the stuff that Trump has been doing to stop and reverse course on what the deep state has done, especially in the last 4 years. But to be honest with you, they were doing it under Obama. They were doing it under George Bush too. They were doing it under, all the way back to Clinton, or maybe even before then. So this has been going on for a very long time. And finally, someone is pushing back against the deep state commies, the NWO. They're all one big happy club. And guess what? People like us are the carbon that they want to eliminate. So let's get into this because we've got a whole lot to cover. Number one, President Trump is delivering on his promise to take on illegal immigration. So I'm sure you guys saw it all throughout the campaign. He was talking about the illegal immigration and the crisis that it has created under Joe Biden's leadership. They basically kicked the doors wide open. You guys remember the shirts people were wearing that said, "Let me in, Biden." If I think about it, I'll add that picture in here. So, because some people don't know, man. I hate to keep doing this stuff like a broken record, but that's what I've realized is not everyone watches all my shows or all my channel. And not only that, but they just don't know a lot of this stuff, even though it is common knowledge. It's not being hidden from anyone, but you got to go out and do the research. So President Trump, all along, all on the campaign trail, he's been illegal immigration was one of his key focus points, right? So has he delivered? Well, he's trying to, that's for damn sure. Pretty close to day one, I think it might have been day one, he declared a national emergency at the southern border. And this is a big deal. And this sent a clear message, a concise message to the federal and state agencies that illegal immigration will not be tolerated under his leadership. So that is excellent that he did that. I mean, that's just, for any president to just do that alone would have been stellar and awesome. But he didn't just do that. He went on further. He declared an invasion at the southern border. So if you guys are, news wonks like I am, I love reading the news and stuff just to know what's going on and hopefully to be able to kind of predict what I need to prepare for. That's been one of my main reasons for following the news like I do. It's not that I love being lied to. Trust me, that's not the reason. But many of the other state government, in fact, I don't want to say many, only one that I'm aware of or that I know of, maybe two, state governors actually had declared this already. They declared an invasion. And the reason why that's important is it's a legal description that allows and requires, okay, that's the important part. It requires the federal government to implement the actions and tools necessary to stop the invasion. So Trump correctly referenced Article 4, Section 4 of the Supreme Law of the land. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's the U.S. Constitution. Check it out. The supreme law of the land, meaning nothing else supersedes that. Not even your state, not even your local government, none of that shit is more powerful than the supreme law of the land. And in the supreme law of the land, it basically says, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but it says in Article 4, Section 4, go read it for yourself, that basically the federal government shall protect the states against invasion. And we have hammered that point the entire time that Biden was breaking the United States laws and not doing anything. See, he could have went out and amended the Constitution or changed something or got someone to vote on that. But instead of that, through executive order, Biden basically ruled that they weren't going to enforce a lot of the stuff that Trump had put in place prior to Biden coming in that was keeping the invasion at bay, okay? The Remain in Mexico policy is one of those, but there were several of them that Biden just got rid of. He just axed them right off the bat, and that sent a message to the invaders that, hey, it's open season, we can go there, we can come and go as we please, and that's what they have been doing all along. So that is super important that the President of the United States declared an invasion, because again, that sets into motion things that Congress can do now because it has officially been declared an invasion. That's a big deal and a huge win for people that are, look, we just want you to follow the rules of the land. I'm not saying, and no one else that I know is saying, that we don't want any kind of immigration at all and we only like a certain color people. No one is saying that sort of shit except for the liberals, right? Because that's what they try to say every time. But it's not about that. It's about, if you want to come here, that's fine, but you have to go through the process so we know who the hell you are. We can't let some rando people come in from who the hell knows God, all over God's green earth that may have nefarious intentions towards you, me, and other American citizens that have a right to be here. We have a right to go out and have first priority of that job. We have the right to say whether or not we want that job picking the fruit or we want some illegal immigrant coming in here and doing that. I mean, they always argue that, oh, well, if we do that and we make normal Americans go out and pick the fruit, then the fruit prices will be really expensive. Well, that may be the case for a while, but the American people would quickly realize that the reason that the fruit prices and all other food prices are so expensive is because they have been devaluing your dollar for 50 years now. So maybe that's the real problem that they don't want to address. But anyway, back to what Trump has done so far. He sends the United States, so Trump sent out the United States Air Force, okay, because this is an invasion. Now he has this tool in his tool belt that he can use. Sent out the United States Air Force and C-17s to return these invaders to their respective home countries. Yeah, Yeah, we're already sending them out. It's a huge deal, guys. It would have taken, I mean, Biden could have never got this done. He would have never gotten this done because it is a direct slap in the face of the New World Order. What do they call it? Replacement migration. Go check it out. The New World Order, more specifically, the UN with their Agenda 2030 and all that stuff. I'm not sure if it's part of Agenda 2030. I've read so much of that crap that it all blends together. But anyway, one of their plans was called replacement migration, and it's basically it's told to you in a feel-good way of, to make you feel better about it and the reason why it's going on. It's sold to you like, oh, well, the American people aren't having enough babies. And instead of saying, hey, Americans, have more babies, we'll give you government incentive to have more babies. Instead of that, they're like, no, we got to reduce the amount of babies and have more abortions and have more birth control and all this stuff. And at least according to the Democrats' plan, they don't want you having more babies because that's more, people that are farting and, breathing their air, right? Eating their food, using their resources. And since you can't be subjugated because you're not like a second-class citizen like a lot of these illegals are. And see, I don't think many people actually look into that side of things. Basically, the situation that the Democrats have been pushing for years, and some Republicans, is a sort of modernized version of slavery, where we don't have to pay these people the same amount of money because, they're illegal invaders and, whatever. We'll just pay them scraps and they can come in here and do it for real cheap. And to them, it may seem like a lot of money, but they're getting screwed. It's basically a modern day slave type system where there's two classes of people. And that's what the Democrats always strive to do, is divide us up into classes and groups so that we're easier to pit against each other. So let's move on here. After Trump started doing that with the C-17s, the Colombian president, Petro, he tried to reject the deportation flights as he pretended to be a tough guy, don't you know? He's a real tough leader, right? And he's not going to let Trump push him around, tell him what to do. Later that same day, Trump threatened to cut off all foreign aid to Colombia. And wouldn't you know it, at the end of the day, Petro caved in embarrassment and decided to allow the flights to land because he was like, millions and millions of dollars of U.S. money coming in could be cut off. Yeah, that's right, buddy. We got you by the short hairs. And don't you ever forget it. We're the baddest motherfucking nation on the block. And people need to remember that. And we also need to remember that ourselves and not go around bullying people just because we're Billy Badass. We're the biggest guy on the block. We can't forget other nations that want to be the big guy on the block as well, like China and Russia and others, even Iran to a degree. But back into Trump's immigration stuff. President Trump ordered Guantanamo Bay to be prepared to receive up to 30,000 illegal invaders. So they're getting beds ready for these invaders. They're going to send them there, okay? I'm telling you, the liberals are melting down, and so far from what I've seen, they're not really. I've seen a few videos where the liberals are talking smack and stuff, but they don't really have anything good to argue against. So all this stuff is following the law. Okay, that's all Trump's trying to do here. It's quite brilliant. So ICE deported 7,300 illegals in Trump's first week. I don't know how much happened in the second week, but probably along the same number. So we could safely say probably 12 to 14,000 already have been deported. And they're starting out with the worst of the worst. Trende, whatever, Aragra, whatever that freaking gang is that thought they could go out to Colorado, out in Aurora, and take over an apartment complexes and stuff, like multiple complexes. And their governor was just like, oh, well, it's just one or two complexes. No, you don't get to take over anything in the United States of America. And I've heard rumor that there were other guys like that trying to do the same thing down in San Antonio and other cities around the country. So Trump put a stop to that immediately. And I didn't find the headline here, but early on, I noticed a headline that said something along the lines of, a lot of these illegals are actually deporting themselves. They're self-deporting. And they talked about how all of a sudden, once Trump got elected and they knew that the tide had shifted, many of them are going home because they don't want to be rounded up and run off by ICE. But yeah, 7,300 in the first week. That's pretty good. And also, another one I didn't write down that just popped into my head here. something like, I think Trump has required, I can't remember which branch. It might have been the Border Patrol. I can't remember who he told this to, but he told them that basically they want at minimum 1,800 deportations a week until we get this under control. So listen to this. Surprise! Number of attempted illegal border crossings plunges in the first week of President Trump's second term. So the proof is in the pudding, guys. This could have been stopped all along by Biden, but they didn't want to because they were trying to push the woke New World Order agenda of replacement migration, where they don't tell you the whole story. What that replacement migration's end goal is really about, or what I believe it's about. They don't state this, but I believe this is their end goal, is to dilute the culture of the United States, to destroy the culture of the United States. And, I've heard people say, what culture? I'm talking about the American culture, the one that invents everything, the most innovative nation on the planet. Like I said a few minutes ago, the biggest, baddest ass nation on the face of God's green earth. I believe in American exceptionalism, and apparently so does Trump, because he is kicking ass and taking names. So that was all he's done so far on immigration. I'm sure there's some stuff I left out because we can't possibly cover all of that in the short amount of time that we have here. So let's get on with number 2. During the campaign, Trump promised to take on DEI Marxists and also CRT, critical race theory Marxist policies that are crippling our nation. No doubt about it. They're crippling our nation. They're making it hard for businesses to hire people because you got to meet a certain quota. We've talked about that, ad nauseum, and how it creates this unfair, unbalanced system where you start promoting people. I think most recently I talked about it in relation to the LA fires and stuff like that, and how they had put a heavy emphasis on hiring DEI, CRT, LGBTQ, RST, whatever. They've hired all these people because it makes them feel good to go, oh, look, we got a lesbian fire chief and all this, this is badass, right? They think it's awesome because they can do the same job as a man. Meanwhile, they can't carry the same weight. They can't climb a ladder the same speed. They're just not equipped for it for the most part. There are a few women like that, but that's the exception to the rule, not the rule. And these people have been trying to make it the rule for the last several years. So President Trump delivered once again on his promises with this executive order. So it's called Ending Radical Wasteful DEI Programs and Preferences. Trump correctly laid out the problems with DEI programs and offered the old tried and true common sense approach of meritocracy, meaning that the most qualified person will get the job regardless of race, sex, or even gender, or religion, or any of that other stuff, right? That's in the spirit of the United States of America, like it's supposed to be. I mean, obviously, you want the most qualified person to be in charge of air traffic control, and I'm not going to go into all that. I'm not going to blame people or anything like that, but I think you all know smell what I'm stepping in here. I mean, we've done this DEI stuff for so long, and these CRT hiring policies for so long that there's been enough time where we're not getting the best and the brightest anymore. It's depending on what color your skin is, what sex you are, or what kind of sex you like to have. That seems to be the most important things, at least to a certain segment of our population. But finally, the adults are really back in charge. And one thing I want to say also about that DEI stuff is it reminds me of this old Martin Luther King Jr. quote. Remember this? Judge a man not on the color of his skin, but on the content of his character. Yeah, I think that's pretty important, and we should do that. Let's see. President Trump has ordered all departments and agencies to immediately place all DEI personnel on paid leave pending a formal disposition of their organization. So they're going to go through this thing top to bottom with a fine-tooth comb. We're going to figure out, hey, is this a DEI program that actually does nothing? That is only all it does, its whole purpose is to degrade the American population and at the same time spend our money foolishly? Yes, many of these programs are like that. So President Trump signed 2 executive orders banning DEI and transgender indoctrination in the military. That's a big deal. We're taking our military back. We're going to make it the strongest. It's going to all be based on meritocracy. If you become a general or not, it's going to be based on meritocracy, not what gender you are, any of that stuff. And I would argue that what Biden did by bringing in all the transgenders and stuff into his administration was an embarrassment on the nation. And hopefully it doesn't leave a permanent scar, but it might. It very well could. Thankfully, Trump is getting us back on track. And I'm telling you, the social justice warriors are melting down. But they don't seem to understand that Biden's DEI efforts, they were policy, not law. Yeah, policy, not law. If only they had paid attention in civics class instead of worrying about DEI, CRT, and tampons in the boys' bathrooms. If they'd have paid attention in civics class, they would understand that policy is not law. Anyway, moving on. Number 3, Trump declared there are only 2 sexes, male and female. Another promise kept. Okay, so I heard him saying that on the campaign trail a lot, but he actually is delivering on this stuff, guys. This should be, you're probably picking your brains up off the back of the back wall back there because your mind should be blown. Mine is. I've heard people talk all kinds of shit about all the stuff they're going to do once they get elected, and then they never deliver. Trump delivers. He did that the first time, although I would argue to a lesser degree. This time, he's got nothing to lose, okay? He's got no re-election. He can do pretty much whatever he wants to do, and it appears he's doing that. So on the surface, this executive order may seem obvious to some. Obviously there's only 2 sexes, right? Maybe even unnecessary. But over the past 4 years under Biden Kamala, many people have been confused about this common scientific fact. Intentionally confused. President Trump also banned men from participating in women's sports and going into their bathrooms. So that's win, 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 win for conservative, patriot, freedom-loving Americans that are traditional in their values and stuff like this. So in our culture, okay, that's what we believe in. Number 4, on the campaign trail, Trump promised to slash government spending and restore the economy. That's a really big deal. All right, they're spinning us into oblivion. Have you seen the debt clock here lately? And in fact, side note, speaking of the debt clock, they have now added an extra category called Doge, however you say it, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Okay, Elon Musk and all that, right? They're actually already reducing the amount of money that's going out through this Doge program. I'm super excited about it. Now, I don't trust Elon Musk any further than I can throw him, okay? But at the same time, somebody that understands business needs to be in there doing it. And at least for now, as a temporary appointment, I'm not opposed to it. And I'm sure Elon, with owning X and all that, probably did help Trump get elected. And that's good. I know he's very excited about it. He was so excited about it that the leftist media said he was doing a Nazi salute when he was really going like this, my heart's out to you type of a deal. Now watch, they'll say, I just did a Nazi salute. That's not what I did. I was mimicking what Elon did, which was not a Nazi salute, okay? Get over your damn selves. You guys are making complete fools of yourselves, okay? This is sort of like what's going on right now. It's sort of like when your mom and dad, okay, they left on vacation and they left you in charge of the house and they told you no parties, no drugs, no women, no on and on and on, no alcohol, all that stuff. Meanwhile, they're on their way home early, okay? They came back a little early and they caught you partying, doing drugs, drinking alcohol, having women, all the things that you said you weren't. That's exactly what this feels like. Dad came home and he's laying out the smackdown on these fools. And they're whining and crying and bitching and moaning about it, but it doesn't matter because he's the president. They screwed up so badly when they put Biden in there. That was probably, honestly, I was thinking the other day, if Trump plays his cards right and the Trump administration play their cards right, what Biden and Kamala did to the Democrat Party, it might have been a fatality blow to their party. They may not ever hold the presidency ever again. Now, I know America tends to swing back and forth like a pendulum, but that's my hope. Maybe most Americans have woken up to the fact that when you select these Democrats, or when they are allowed to steal an election like they were, unchecked and unchallenged and all that stuff, then this is the outcome. Super high inflation, World War III, on the verge of freaking World War III, on and on and on. So he promised on the campaign trail to slash the government spending and restore the economy. So President Trump's administration ordered sweeping freeze on all federal grants and loans effective today. That was a few days ago. And the liberals melted down. They were like, oh my God, that's Medicare, Medicaid. Oh, they're trying to push grandma and grandpa off the cliff. If you don't know, if you're not old enough, they literally used to run a commercial where it was a Republican pushing grandma and grandpa off the cliff, just killing them, right? Because that's how we want to end Social Security and all this shit. When in reality, if Social Security and these other government social programs are not addressed, every one of them, from my understanding, is completely insolvent. So if you don't address this, we're eventually going to hit bankruptcy, and then you won't be able to do shit about it. We'll all just be starving to death. So here's one of the wasteful programs the Trump administration cut. The Biden regime was reportedly set to send $50 million in taxpayer money to fund, get this, condom distribution in Gaza. Okay? Because apparently they're having a hell of a lot of sex down there. Because, I mean, it was way more condoms than there are even people there. So it's unbelievable. It reminds me, or it rings true of one of these golden toilet seat things that the U.S. military used to do when they needed to get rid of some extra money, or, you know, golden hammers and stuff like this. The things that are like, you know, $10,000 hammers because they're trying to spend this discretionary spending so they don't lose it, that kind of a deal. So yeah, we were trying to send, Biden and them were trying to send 50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. Meanwhile, on his watch, Hawaii was burning down. You had the disaster out in Ohio. I bet 50 million could have done a lot for those people out in Ohio where that train disaster happened. What was some other stuff? I mean, just tons and tons of things. The fires there in LA at the end. I'm sure those people could have used $50 million to help rebuild, but instead they're buying condoms for people who probably don't even religiously believe in wearing condoms. Do you see the problem? Okay? Even if they would have gotten this done, and instead Trump said, hell no, we're not doing that crap, cut that crap out right now, which is the right thing to do. But let's say Biden and them would have got it done before Trump came into office. What do you think that would have done in the minds of these Gazan men that were set to receive these condoms, when it's obviously against their religion? I assume it's against their religion to even use birth control or anything like that. So anyway, moving on. Spending was frozen. Civil servants offered immediate buyouts. This is big. So dozens of U.S. aid senior personnel were placed on paid leave due to their failure to follow this guidance. Paid leave for such individuals may very possibly transition into unpaid leave and firing. And yeah, Trump's firing the shit out of these people, these commies that have been installed in the deep state as a permanent a permanent overlord, overwatcher that stays in this, you know, stays in the government no matter who the president is. So he's getting rid of a lot of these people. It's great. President Trump is offering millions of federal workers buyouts if they resign by February 6th. So he basically laid out an ultimatum. You know, he's like, hey man, you're going to follow my ways. You're going to come into work and you're going to do all the things that we say, or you can resign. We'll pay you for like 8 months of pay if you just resign and leave. And he was confronted by a reporter yesterday because Trump, unlike Biden, Trump is having press conferences like almost daily. And actually talking to the press. And anyway, the question was something along the lines of, what are we going to do when we lose all these government workers? Or if you buy them out and you fire them all, the government's just not going to work anymore. And I could not believe Trump said this, but he said something along the lines of, All of my life, I've been hearing politicians talking about how we need to reduce the size of the federal government, and yet no one delivers. Trump said, I'm going to deliver. We're going to reduce the federal government. So if these people just don't show up, then I've won. I've succeeded. I've reduced the size of the federal government. And I mean, again, I've dreamed of this happening, but I never actually thought we would see it happen, because usually they go up to a point and then they stop and they back off. But Trump is going all the way, balls deep, baby. He ain't letting up until he makes America great again. Okay. And I used to think, and I still do think, that Trump has some narcissistic characteristics and traits and things like that. He does love to be on camera and all that stuff. That is true. And I thought that that was his only motivation for wanting to be president a second term. But I think damn near getting his head blown off by that kid, I think it changed him. I don't know if God came into him or if he realized that that was God sparing him for some other work. I don't know what the deal is, but suddenly I feel very confident in Trump's ability to make America great again, especially if he continues on at this pace. It's a breakneck pace, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. So he's offering millions in buyouts if they resign by February 6th. To up the game even higher, President Trump made a bold and dramatic move, offering leave now and receive 8 months of pay through an email entitled Fork in the Road. I mean, I am loving this, guys. I am loving this. Every day I see something new and I'm just like, oh my God, he's actually doing it. It's hard to believe when you start seeing, and I hesitate to say conservative principles, because a lot of these aren't really, they used to not be left or right or conservative. They were just American principles. And it's so nice to see this coming to fruition. So President Trump also declared work from home. That's right, work from home. There are a plethora of government workers that are still using the COVID rules to work from home. He was like, no, work from home is no longer an option. He instructed those that are currently working from home to report to the office by a certain day or else find another job. I mean, I'm telling you, he's firing people. Just like we all dreamed he would do the first go around. For whatever reason, he's doing it this time. And I mean, thank God for that. We have to do it. We have to cut this deep state. We got to cut their legs off. Number 5. Unlike the previous administration, President Trump is providing federal assistance to states affected by natural disasters. Seems like the logical, normal thing to do, right? Seems like you would want to do that. And I'm not saying that Biden didn't provide any aid, but we all remember the whole controversy during the North Carolina deal where, and that wasn't just North Carolina. There were several states affected by that hurricane, but I think North Carolina was probably the most heavily affected. And there were several reports. It's not just reports. This was confirmed. FEMA, the highest people at the FEMA office, had instructed FEMA workers to avoid providing any aid to someone that had a Make America Great, sign in their yard, a Trump sign or anything like that, or a bumper sticker on their car. If they thought that they were pro-Trump, they were not giving them aid. Can you believe that, guys? I mean, that's just unfathomable that our federal government would stoop to that level of, just treating their political enemies that way. That's just not the way we would do it. That's not the way anybody that's a humane, normal human being would handle things, but that's how they handled it. So that tells you a lot about the previous administration versus the one we have now. So Trump used his emergency powers to send U.S. military into California and provide water. That was almost day one. It was within the first 2 or 3 days. He had the U.S. military basically mobilized to go and help California. Biden could have done that, but he didn't do it. The days of putting a fake environmental argument over the people are over, Trump said. So let me read that again. The days of putting a fake environmental argument over the people are over. I think he sent California a clear and concise message. Whether or not they decide to take his advice or not, I don't know, but He's got the military in there getting them water. And that whole deal he was talking about that the media made fun of him about, he said, hey, yeah, for, thousands of years or whatever, millions of years, water has been running down from Canada, but these people in California have decided to save some smelt or something or some bug in the forest that they're going to divert all the water out into the bay and not save any of the water for fighting fires. It's just dumb all over. You got to be an idiot to act that way. But another thing Trump did, he traveled to North Carolina to help with the flood recovery and address FEMA's failures during and after the devastating hurricane damage. So he's going to places, boots on the ground. He went to California already. He had a press conference to help with the wildfire recovery. If you didn't see that, you should watch it. Trump commands the room, okay? He's a real leader. Biden would have been going, speaking mumbo jumbo, coming up with some weird ass words that no one even can understand, yet the media would never call him out on any of that stuff. They refused to even say, they refused to even say the guy had dementia or anything until after they kicked him out. And then all of a sudden they all came out and said it. We're tired of your lies. We're tired of your bullshit. The adults are back in charge. Get in line or get the fuck out. That's what we think about your leftist policies, okay? You either do it the way we want. We tried to do it your way. It sucked shit. Now we're going to do it our way, okay? If you don't like it, hey, I hear Venezuela's a really nice place to go. Go move there. Go whatever. Go live in Brazil. Get the fuck out of here because we don't want your sorry commie ways destroying our country anymore. So number 6, this is a big one that I don't think I ever heard Trump or anybody else even ever talk about, but number 6 is restoring transparency in the federal government. Now, am I saying it's completely transparent and they're going to tell us every little secret? No, that's not what I'm saying. But you guys remember the controversy that was taking place out in New Jersey. We talked about it, a couple of videos I did on the drones and stuff and what's going on and why is the administration not talking about this and telling us the truth on this. Instead, they're acting like, I don't know. We don't know what that is. Oh, it could be. Oh, it could be this. It could be that. But they never would confirm or deny anything that was going on. So the Trump administration has so far been the most transparent administration in my lifetime, okay? 49 years old, that tells you. And even beyond my lifetime, even back to before when, like when I was looking into Jimmy Carter and Nixon and all these others, right? This has been the most open and transparent administration I've ever seen. Trump promised to find out what was really going on with the drones in New Jersey, okay? Remember that during the campaign trail? So the Trump White House said mystery drones over New Jersey were authorized by the FAA. Now, they didn't say exactly what they were doing or how long they were there, why they were there, any of that stuff. They're not going to, okay? Don't expect them to tell you all the secrets. But they at least acknowledge that we know what they are. They're authorized by the FAA, and that could have quelled a lot of the craziness that was going on surrounding the drone stuff, okay? Next up on the transparency, Trump issued an executive order to declassify the files on the Kennedys and the MLK Jr. assassination. That is epic. The American people for years and years have been wanting to know what is the truth. Now, do I really think we're going to find out anything super new about, especially about JFK? Probably not. Some people have talked about and speculated that actually what we may find out is that the driver, one of the people, or not the driver, but one of the people, the Secret Service people that was in the car with JFK was the one that actually killed him. It was an accident, but somehow he was trying to move around after the first shot happened and he accidentally shot the president in the head. I don't know. I mean, I would think that someone at that level of Secret Service would have enough weapons experience that couldn't happen because they know about where you're pointing the barrel. You don't want to point the barrel at anything you don't want to kill, right? And so I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. Most likely the stuff that will come out will all be redacted. It'll be like 2 or 3 words and then all black lines. We've seen this shit before, okay? So I'm not expecting to actually find out the real truth on anything like that, but they definitely are at least declassifying the available files and documents on JFK and MLK Jr. I think we stand to find out more about MLK Jr. and the association with the FBI. So, again, I'm not holding my breath, because a lot of these people, when they commit these kinds of crimes that they know could come back on them someday, they destroy all the evidence. So most likely there's not going to be a whole lot of new stuff that comes out about it, but maybe there will. President Trump's White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, is clearly more open and accessible than the former press secretary, Cream Jean-Pierre. I'll be honest, the fact that she's a smoking hottie doesn't hurt anything either. Quite a nice upgrade, if you ask me. All right. She's well-spoken, not hard on the eyes, and I love the way she's handling the press so far. She's not, deferring or diverting or saying, let me circle back to it. Now, there's some things she don't know the answer to, but she always says, well, I don't know, but I'll find out. That's what you're supposed to do, okay? That's what you're supposed to do. I may not know this, but I'll talk to the president and I'll get back to you. I'll find out. Whether she actually follows through with that or not, I don't know, but the last one, KJP, was just basically lie, 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 lie. And then when you called her on a lie, she lied some more. Next up, number 7, President Trump tells the WEF and Klaus Schwab to pound sand. We're the United States of America, America first. We're making America great again, baby. And the WEF and Klaus Schwab, you have nothing to do with that. So we're going to just summarize this, because this was so powerful, I might make a whole separate video about Trump's speech to the WEF, because it was such a refreshing breath of fresh air. It sort of reminded me of when Milei went down there and he talked to the WEF the first time. It was sort of seemed like that a little bit. So Trump said, what the world has witnessed in the past 72 hours, and he's talking about after he got elected, the past 72 hours is nothing less than a revolution of common sense. And I loved the way he put that. This is a revolution of common sense. Our country will soon be stronger, wealthier, and more united than ever before. That's why from the moment I took office, I've taken rapid action to reverse each and every one of these radical leftist policies that created this calamity, in particular with the immigration, crime, and inflation. I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. He called it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord and ended the insane, costly electric vehicle mandate. We're going to let people buy the car they want to buy. Okay? It seems pretty simple. Let the market work it out. I declared a national emergency to unlock the liquid gold under our feet and pave the way for rapid approvals of new energy infrastructure. We're talking about an oil boom and natural gas boom like this country has never seen, okay? All of our prices should plummet. Fuel prices, natural gas, propane, everything else that's associated with that. And that should all, I hate to use their terminology, but it should all trickle down throughout the rest of the economy, therefore making all of your goods that you buy on a weekly basis or monthly basis or whatever a lot cheaper, including stuff at the grocery store. So this could be probably the best thing I've seen Trump say that's going to help tackle the inflation that Biden put us in. The United States has the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we're going to use it. That's what Trump said. My administration has also begun the largest deregulation campaign in history, far exceeding even the record-setting efforts of my last term. So he said this time around, for every new regulation that's passed, 10 have to be removed. I think last time, his first term, it was like 2 or 3 that had to be removed, and they did a lot of good stuff to get rid of the overreaching federal government that has regulated all of us into just this. Let me give you one example, okay? One example out of a million, okay? Low flow toilets, okay? All right, low flow toilets. They say you're using too much. We used to have 5-gallon tanks on the back of the toilet. And maybe that was a bit excessive, but it's not for the federal government to decide that, okay? It should be for the people that buy the product to decide that. If you're a 300, 400 pound dude that takes a shit and it's the size of a freaking a small dog or cat, you probably need 5 gallons to flush that shit down the toilet, okay? Or I don't know, I hate to be, gross or grotesque here, but I've gone over to other people's houses, even though I really don't like to poop at other people's houses, but I've had situations before where I had to suddenly take a crap, okay? And I'm at someone else's house and I'm like, oh, I might not make it home, I gotta shit, man. And I'd go in and shit on their low flow toilet, and maybe it was a floater, okay? We've all had floaters. Don't act like you don't have floaters or your shit don't stink, okay? We know it does. We all know the truth. So we all have floaters once in a while. Well, if you got one of them low flow toilets, you might have to flush it 3 or 4 times to get that floater to go down. Just depends on how much air is trapped in there or whatever it is, gas that makes it float or whatever, right? Is that actually, when you're flushing 3 or 4 times with 1.2 or 1.5 gallons, doesn't that actually undo any savings that you would have had? Yes, it does. So it's idiotic. Another great example real quick is the gas cans. All of a sudden they got on this kick about 5-10 years ago where they had to have these no-spill gas cans. People spill more gas and it takes you fucking forever to fill anything up through their little EPA gas cans. I can't stand them. Every single EPA gas can I've had, I put one of those easy pour kits that you can go buy over at Tractor Supply on there just to bypass their bullshit. And that's one thing I love about America and Americans in general. Is just like when they came out with the radar guns back in the, 80s or whatever, when they started having radar guns, guess what? The private sector made radar detectors so we could get around your bullshit, okay? Same deal with this. They make a gas can that sucks. It opens up a market, that previously didn't exist. So I guess in a weird way they're creating value. Again, should it be necessary? I mean, it shouldn't even have to happen. But industrious Americans have come up with ways around that where they're selling you just the nozzle so you can bypass the stupid BS EPA gas cans that end up usually spilling more and hurting you because you have to hold the gas can longer. It may not be a big deal if it's just a 1-gallon can, but if you're trying to hold up a 5-gallon can and fill up a tractor with diesel or something like that, and the thing, like on my tractor, it's up on the hood, so you got to climb up on the side. You're in a kind of a funny position. You don't want to be there any longer than you have to be. So again, they have the reverse Midas touch. These people, these federal regulators, everything they touch turns to shit. So he began the biggest deregulation campaign in history. I look forward to seeing that. I've got lots of things. I'd like to see the incandescent light bulb being brought back because it's, it does use more energy, but there's places where you need that. Instead of these crappy LEDs that put off this weird colored light and all that, they don't put off any heat. But if you need enough heat to keep your well from freezing up or your chickens from freezing to death, and you don't want to put a heat lamp in there, an incandescent, 40 or 60 watt bulb is your only answer. And under Obama's policies, and then I think Trump got rid of the light bulb ban, and then Biden brought it back in. So now Trump hopefully can get rid of it again. Number 8. More winning. I mean, are you guys getting tired of winning yet? I mean, I'm not, but it's hard to keep up with it. President Trump signs executive order restricting child mutilation across America. The DOJ also ordered to pursue litigation to end the sinister practice. Again, kudos. Looking out for children. And the same thing applies to the illegal immigration crackdown. Part of the reason we got to do this is since the Biden administration opened up the border, I mean, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of children have just gone missing. And I don't care what race, creed, nationality, sex, any of that stuff. You don't deserve to be raped as a kid, all right? You don't deserve to be put into some sort of a sex slave trade just because they opened up the border and decided they wanted to repopulate America with a different ethnicity or a different group, culture, people, right? So anyway, that's a big deal, number 8. Number 9, during the campaign, Trump promised to take on the deep state swamp and stop the weaponization of the alphabet agencies like, the DOJ, the CIA, the FBI, on and on and on, against their political enemies, okay? So these people were openly using not only the DOJ, but the entire justice system, and a lot of these leftist judges that have been appointed over the years have been basically doing mental gymnastics to bust people for no freaking reason at all. So that's got to stop. They're just going after people because they vote differently than the Democrats do. Bullshit. It's got to stop. It's got to end. I mean, you remember the FBI going after those parent-teacher conferences where the parents didn't want certain kinds of books being displayed to their kids, and they think they have the right as a parent to decide what goes in their kid's head, and then the FBI put them on a watch list. That's what I'm talking about. That's what Trump's talking about. So Trump came in as a result of all that, and he fired the head of the FBI Washington field office, David Sundberg, probably a commie. He canned more than 20 heads of FBI field offices. That's great, man. All 6 FBI executive assistant directors and 25 special agents in charge are out at the FBI, according to the FBI whistleblower. This is amazing. Amazing. This is exactly, I mean, again, Trump made all these promises, and I didn't really expect him to deliver, at least not so quickly. This is just, it's amazing. Last one here on my list of top 10 accomplishments of Donald Trump so far, and we're only 11 days in. Trump offers long-promised pardons to some 1,500 January 6 rioters. Now, the left is melting down about this, and they're saying, well, you let some of those people out. They were violent offenders. They attacked Capitol Police and blah, 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 blah. Of course, they also say like 6 or 7 Capitol Police officers died that day when no Capitol Police or anything like that even happened. They just make shit up out of thin air. And then when you have proof of some weirdness going on, like that weird bomb that they found or whatever, suddenly they sweep all that under the rug and never talk about it again. Hopefully Trump can investigate some of that stuff. Maybe we'll get the truth on that because they are being so transparent. But anyway, back to the J6ers. Many of these people were being held without charges. That's right. Even, 4.5 years later, being held without charges illegally. And this is a direct violation of the due process clause in the 5th Amendment. Okay, that's one of the things I focused on whenever they were getting arrested. I talked about this, again, ad nauseum. I talked about it so much that even I got tired of talking about it because I was like, man, it's just like I'm, skipping on a broken record here. And I know my audience, for the most part, are smart enough that they only need to be told once or twice and then they remember it. But yeah, direct violation of the 5th Amendment, which talks about due process. And that's a big whole can of worms I don't want to open up right now because it'd take me a long time to explain it. But basically, there are certain rules, and you have to, if you're going to put somebody in prison or in jail, they have to know what the charges are so they can defend against that. And many of them were being held without charges, even at this late date. So it's also a violation of the 6th Amendment because the accused did not receive a speedy trial, and the ones who did get to go to trial did not have a jury of impartial peers. That's listed in the 6th Amendment. And these people openly violated it. Even when the attorneys representing the J6ers would mention that, hey, all these people in DC are biased because they're here. The judges, because they're liberal judges, refused to allow them to have a trial in a different state where they could have possibly gotten, people that were on both sides of the aisle. Instead, they got all leftists. So the ones that were prosecuted and forced to make these statements and stuff, they had no choice. So let's not forget about the good old 8th Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed. Nor, this is the important part, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Okay, I'm not a J6er. I wasn't there. I didn't go to jail or anything. I can only tell you what secondhand reports I read about over the last several years, last 4 years. So I've read countless reports of mistreatment of J6ers along the way. They have been documented from solitary confinement to substandard medical treatment. Cruel and unusual punishment seemed to be the norm under the last administration. Thank God they have been removed from power, and I mean that sincerely. I would argue with so many violations of the Bill of Rights by the Biden regime, these patriots that were pardoned have every right to sue the people involved with the Biden DOJ. Now, that is, unless Biden issued them blanket pardons to cover their crimes against America. And that's what we had going on during the last administration. A criminal administration that was installed into office on very suspicious, let's put it that way, terms. And lots of different things. The first time we ever had widespread mail-in voting, and they're wondering, oh, well, why all of a sudden you worried about the vote counting and stuff? Well, you should be worried about it. They just did something that changed the entire system and shook it up on its head, and then they deny, all the way to the graveyard where they're getting the names to write down on the voter ballots and stuff. Yeah, dead people. They vote Democrat for some reason all the time, 100%. So, my overall thoughts on Trump's first 2 weeks in office. If I had to give him a score, I'd say 10 out of 10. If I were president, this is exactly what I would have done. Right out of the gate, okay? This is exactly, I can't, there's only one thing I can criticize, and I'll get to that in a second. Honestly, I feel like we're winning so much, I'm kind of getting tired of it. Just kidding. I mean, keep them on their heels, Trump. Make America great again. That's what I have to say about it. I am in full support of what's going on. So if you leftists want to come in there and argue with me in the comments and say, Trump's acting like a tyrant or a dictator or any of that weird shit that you didn't seem to have any sensitivity to when Biden was doing all sorts of weird stuff, up to including firing military personnel because they wouldn't take an experimental vaccine. So, you can let me know down in the comments what you guys think. What's your favorite thing that Trump has done so far? What would you like to see him do in the future? I mean, he seems to be the kind of person that listens to the American people. So if you have something you'd like to see happen or change here in the country, let's get that done. I think once these tariffs, I didn't really even talk about that angle very much, but I think once these tariffs kick in and stuff, we're going to have so much money rolling in that maybe we can get our infrastructure looking good again, and get our roads good without potholes, and keep bridges from collapsing. All those things that in a good country you would expect. Okay, so here's my criticism of Trump, and I don't want to go too long because we've already got a long video going on here. But I'll just tell you quickly: I am not a fan of ruling through executive fiat, ruling through executive orders. Okay, it's not really in the spirit of the way the government was designed by the founding fathers. It's supposed to be 3 separate but equal branches of the federal government. Now, in Trump's defense, he didn't make it this way. Congress actually made it this way by delegating and shunning their own responsibilities. So if Congress wants to change this, they could, but I don't think they're going to take back their responsibilities because, they haven't been doing it in so long. It's better just to let someone else do it. That way, if any heat comes as a result of it, then it goes on to that other person, not them. I think that's what's going on. I'm not 100%, but guys, I feel great about the future of the country right now. I think we're at least on the right track. And after going the wrong direction for 4 years in a row, I just didn't think that we'd ever come back from it. But now I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I'll caution you of one thing here. We've still got Biden's war, World War III, looming on the horizon, and I don't know if Trump's going to be able to deliver on that promise that he made or not. I think he's trying. I think he really is trying to work with Putin and Zelensky to get some sort of a peace deal going, but it's going to be a hard sell because both of them have killed so many of the others. And I guarantee you, Putin directly blames NATO and more specifically the United States of America for our participation in, giving them all these weapons and stuff, these long-range missiles, and allowing the authorization of the attacks on, what they call the motherland, Mother Russia, okay? That's a different level when you start attacking people on their own home country. Now, people would argue, well, Putin attacked them first. Yeah, but the difference is Putin did it on his own pretty much. Zelensky didn't, okay? They used NATO and NATO weaponry, and I would argue NATO personnel and probably American personnel to fight this war, which in my opinion is wrong. So anyway, guys, things are getting better. Now, are we out of the woods? Does that mean SHTF is never going to come? No, I don't think so. I think, in fact, right now, what I think is going on is the Democrats are so pushed back on their heels, they don't even know what to say. Their head's just spinning around, their jaws wide open. They can't even believe what's happening, okay? They can't believe it. They're eventually going to catch their breath. And I've heard some rumblings. What's that guy's name? Hakeem Jeffries, and I don't really remember what his position is, but he's either in media or in government in some capacity, because I do remember his name. He basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said something along the lines of, we've got to take this fight against Trump to the streets, okay? Now, if a Republican would have said something like that, they would say insurrection, they would say you're calling for revolution, they would say all sorts of things. But since it's a Democrat that said it, the media probably ain't going to say much of anything. So I'm telling you guys, they have an army of brown shirts, Democrat operatives. Sometimes they're called Antifa, sometimes they're called Black Bloc, sometimes they're called BLM, whatever, LGBTQ. They're going to activate their entire Antifa army, their brown shirt army at some point. I don't know what they'll do. They'll either burn down their own cities like they have done in the past, or perhaps they'll take it to another level where they try to go out into the suburbs and stuff like that. I don't think that'll end well for anyone. So that being said, the Democrats will come back. And when they do come back, they're going to come back in a riotous, upset the apple cart sort of a fashion. They're not going to let us off easy. They're not going to allow this to happen without throwing a hissy fit and a tantrum like little children always do. So let me know, guys, what do you think about all this? Are you happy? Are you excited for the future of America and for the economy and being able to get your projects done around the house and knowing that maybe one day you'll be able to afford eggs and bread. Oh, by the way, they're trying to blame Trump for the egg prices after, 11 days in office, when Biden was the one that ordered millions of chickens be destroyed and killed. Oh my God, they're so dumb. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Let me know down in the comments what you think about all this. How are you feeling? I mean, I'm not going to go out and spend all my money right away, but I have been spending a little more money than I was during the Biden term because I was scared to death that I wasn't going to get the money back under his term. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, and I'm like, okay, I can see how, in 6 or 8 months, with cheap gas prices and Trump's tariff deals and all this other stuff, that maybe, just maybe, and the slashing of government agencies and one last thing. He hasn't done this yet, but he's the first president I've ever heard openly talking about, in the official capacity as president, openly talking about getting rid of the income tax. I know we've all had to pay income tax our entire lives, so we can't imagine a world without it because of the way it's always been. But there was a time, once upon a time, pre-1913, pre the creation of the Fed, before the creation of, was it the 14th Amendment? I can't remember which amendment it is that gives the federal government the right to collect income tax. But before that happened, there was no income tax. It was all tariffs. And that's what Trump is trying to get us back to, or that's what he claims. Let me know down in the comments what you guys are thinking about this. Are you as excited as me? What do you think of the new shelf and the new background we got going on here? I always love reading your comments, and I look forward to your feedback. If you've got a show idea, if you've got something you want me to cover, let me know down in the comments, because I'll be honest, that last 2 weeks, there were a couple of times I thought about making a video, but I don't know. I was just kind of focused on what I was doing here, and I just didn't feel like it was video worthy. The couple of things that I had that were ideas in my mind. So you guys are the audience. Let me know what you want to see in the future, and we'll try to do more of those. I appreciate you tuning in. And as always, I stand for liberty to the bitter end. I hope you do too.